Have you ever had a perfect, peaceful day ruined by someone who just couldn't mind their own business? That's exactly what happened to me, and it all started with a splash. It was a warm Saturday morning at the lake, the kind of morning where the sun danced on the water like scattered diamonds, and a gentle breeze made the pines whisper overhead. My dog, Max, a golden retriever with more energy than a kid on a sugar rush, bounded straight into the water as soon as I unclipped his leash. His tail wagged furiously, his paws splashing in happy chaos. For me, this was our ritual, a little slice of joy carved out from the noise of the world. But that joy didn't last long, because that's when Karen showed up. You know the type. Sunglasses too big for her face, clutching a clipboard like it was a weapon. Lips pursed so tightly it looked painful. She marched toward me with the determination of someone who had already decided they were right, and everyone else was wrong. "Excuse me," she barked, her voice cutting across the peaceful air. "Dogs are not allowed in this lake." At first, I thought she had to be joking. Max was splashing around a few feet from shore, not bothering anyone, just enjoying himself. But one look at her scowl told me she wasn't kidding. I calmly replied, "Actually, there's no rule against it. I checked the regulations. Dogs are welcome as long as they're under control." Karen's eyes narrowed. "Well, I'm making it a rule. This is a public lake, and we don't need dirty animals ruining it for the rest of us." Her words made my blood boil. Max wasn't dirty. He was family. He wasn't causing damage. He wasn't disturbing wildlife, and frankly, he had more right to happiness than she did with her sour attitude. Still, I kept my cool. "Ma'am, you don't get to make the rules just because you feel like it." That's when her face turned red. She jabbed a finger at me like she was conducting an orchestra of insults. "If you don't get that mutt out of the water right now, I'll make sure you regret it." For a moment, I almost laughed. But then I realized this wasn't just about my dog enjoying a swim. Karen was the type to escalate, and she wasn't bluffing. Little did she know, the harder she pushed, the more determined I'd become to stand my ground. And that was the exact moment when this peaceful lake day turned into a battle I never saw coming. If Karen's opening act was dramatic, her encore was downright theatrical. She whipped out her phone like a sheriff pulling a gun, holding it high enough for everyone nearby to see. "I'm calling the HOA," she declared, as if the mere letters carried more weight than the law itself. Now here's the kicker. Our lake isn't even managed by an HOA. It's part of the county park system. But try telling that to Karen. She was so locked into her self-appointed role as lake protector that facts didn't stand a chance. Meanwhile, Max was completely oblivious to the tension. He swam back to shore with a stick clutched in his mouth, dropping it proudly at Karen's feet like an offering of peace. You'd think that would have melted her icy exterior, but no. She actually shrieked, stumbling back like Max had delivered her a live rattlesnake. "See? Dangerous. Aggressive!" she shouted, pointing at my dog, who was now wagging his tail and waiting for someone, anyone, to throw the stick. I couldn't help but shake my head. That's not aggression, that's play. Maybe you just don't understand dogs. Karen wasn't having it. She doubled down. "I'll have you banned from this lake. You and that mutt. Don't think I can't make it happen." Her words attracted attention. A couple of families setting up their picnic blankets looked over. A fisherman paused mid-cast. Suddenly, it felt like we had an audience for a showdown. Neither of us asked for, but one Karen clearly wanted. I decided right then that I wasn't going to let her bully me. I pulled out my phone too, not to call anyone, but to start recording. If Karen wanted to turn this into a spectacle, then fine. There'd be evidence of everything. The moment she saw my phone pointed her way, her tone changed. She lowered her voice, but not her hostility. "Delete that right now. You can't record me without my permission." I raised an eyebrow. "In a public place? Pretty sure I can." The crowd wasn't on her side anymore. A few people even chuckled at her exaggerated outrage. One dad whispered loud enough for me to hear, "Lady's losing it over a dog swimming." Karen realized she was losing her grip, so she made her boldest move yet. "If you don't leave immediately, I'm calling the sheriff." That was her final card, or so she thought. I smiled, calm and collected. Go ahead, let's see what they have to say. Because what Karen didn't know was this. I had already spoken with local authorities weeks ago when I first started bringing Max here, and they'd made it clear dogs were absolutely allowed. Karen had no idea she was about to back herself into a corner she couldn't escape. Karen's finger stabbed the call button like it was her weapon of choice. She paced back and forth on the shoreline, barking into her phone, her voice dripping with exaggerated urgency. Yes, officer, there's a dangerous dog in the lake. The owner is refusing to leave. You need to come immediately before someone gets hurt. Meanwhile, Max had stretched out on the sand, tongue lolling, looking about as threatening as a stuffed animal. Every now and then he glanced at Karen, tail thumping lazily, completely unaware he was being accused of domestic terrorism against swimmers. Within 15 minutes, the rumble of tires on gravel signaled the sheriff's arrival. A county patrol SUV rolled up, and out stepped a broad-shouldered deputy with mirrored sunglasses. His calm, no-nonsense stride instantly shifted the energy around the lake. Families went quiet, fishermen reeled in their lines, and Karen puffed herself up, convinced her victory was seconds away. "That's him!" she cried, pointing at me like she'd just uncovered public enemy number one. "And that's the dog! They're breaking the rules, contaminating the lake, putting everyone at risk." The deputy turned to me, expression unreadable. "Sir, is this your dog?" "Yes, officer," I said evenly, giving Max a reassuring pat. "And before you say anything, I've already checked the county regulations. Dogs are allowed here as long as they're supervised. Max is friendly, and he's under control," Karen interrupted, nearly foaming at the mouth. "That's not true. Dogs spread diseases, they scare children. The deputy raised a hand, silencing her instantly. Then he pulled a small notepad from his pocket, flipping through a few printed pages tucked inside. He looked back up at Karen, voice firm. "Ma'am, County Ordinance Section 14, Subsection 3. Dogs are permitted at this lake as long as they are leashed, on land and supervised in the water." Her jaw dropped. "What? That can't be right." "It is," the deputy said flatly. He gestured toward Max, who was now rolling on his back in the sand, paws flailing in absolute bliss. "That doesn't look like a threat to me." The crowd chuckled, and Karen's face turned a shade of crimson I didn't think was humanly possible. She stammered, searching for some new weapon to hurl, but the deputy wasn't done. "Furthermore, making false reports to law enforcement is a serious offense. You told dispatch this animal was dangerous. I don't see any evidence of that. Do you?" Karen froze. For the first time all day, she had no comeback. The deputy gave me a nod. "You and your dog are fine here. Enjoy your day." Karen, on the other hand, was about to find out that her little crusade had just backfired spectacularly. The deputy's words hung in the air like a gavel strike, and for a moment the entire lakeside was silent. Then came the laughter, soft at first, from the families on their picnic blankets, then from the fishermen who'd been watching the whole showdown unfold. The sound rippled through the crowd like a wave, and Karen's face twisted as if she'd swallowed a lemon whole. "You people don't understand," she screeched, her voice pitching higher with every word. "This lake is supposed to be safe. Dogs are filthy. They spread bacteria. They ruin everything." Max, still sprawled happily on his back, gave a loud, contented sigh, almost as if mocking her meltdown. A little kid nearby pointed at him and giggled, "He's so cute," a statement that earned an approving smile from the deputy and more chuckles from the crowd. Karen spun in place, her desperation growing. "You're all blind. Just wait until someone gets sick from that mutt being in the water. Then you'll see I was right." The deputy, however, wasn't giving her any room to escalate further. "Ma'am, I've explained the law. You need to calm down before this turns into a bigger issue. For you." Her hand shook as she jabbed her finger at me again. "This isn't over. If the county won't do something, I'll take it higher. I'll go to the state. I'll have petitions signed. You'll wish you never brought that beast here." I couldn't help but smile, keeping my tone calm but firm. "Karen, the only thing Max has ruined today is a stick. And even then, he left half of it for you. The line drew another burst of laughter. And this time, even the deputy cracked the faintest smile. Karen's meltdown wasn't just embarrassing her. Now, it was solidifying her role as the villain in everyone else's eyes. The crowd had turned completely against her. Sensing she was backed into a corner, she tried one last tactic. Pity. Her voice softened, her eyes welling with crocodile tears. I just want the lake to stay nice. Why can't anyone see I'm only trying to protect it? But the act fell flat. The deputy crossed his arms. Protecting the lake is the county's responsibility. Harassing people and making false calls isn't helping anyone. This is your warning, ma'am. Next time, you won't walk away with just embarrassment. Karen's tears dried instantly. She grabbed her oversized tote bag, muttered something about ungrateful fools, and stormed off down the gravel path. The crowd slowly dispersed, shaking their heads, some still laughing under their breath. Max trotted over to me, tail wagging, carrying his stick like a trophy. The battle was over, but I knew this wasn't the end of Karen's crusade. And sure enough, what happened next proved she wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. I thought Karen would lick her wounds and disappear. But if there's one thing I learned that day, it's that Karen doesn't quit when she's embarrassed. She doubles down. The very next weekend, Max and I returned to the lake. I half expected her to ambush us again. But instead, something stranger was waiting. A freshly printed sign had been hammered into the ground right near the water's edge. In bold letters it read, "No dogs allowed. By order of the Lake Association." The problem? There was no lake association. I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture, chuckling. This had Karen written all over it. Sure enough, a few minutes later, I spotted her lurking at the picnic tables, arms folded, watching me like a hawk. She strutted over, smugness radiating off her. "See?" she said, tapping the sign. "Official notice. Dogs are banned now. You'll have to take your mutt elsewhere." I couldn't help but laugh. "Karen, you do realize posting fake signs is illegal, right? That's tampering with public property." Her face flickered with panic before she quickly regained her composure. "It's not fake. I spoke with officials. They agreed with me." "Really?" I said, pulling up my phone again. "Because I happen to have the deputy's direct contact now. Maybe I'll just text him this photo and ask if it's legit." That did it. Karen's smugness evaporated. She stammered, You wouldn't dare." "Oh, I would," I replied. "And you know what? I think the county would love to know. Someone's been fabricating signs and impersonating an authority. That's a serious offense." By now, a few people nearby had gathered again, curious about the exchange. A dad muttered, "She's at it again," while another woman shook her head in disbelief. Karen tried to hold her ground, but her hands were trembling. "Fine," she snapped. "I was only trying to do what's best for everyone." "Funny," I said, "because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're only doing what's best for you." Before she could fire back, I hit send on the photo. Within 20 minutes, the same deputy from last week showed up. When he saw the sign, his face hardened. "Ma'am, did you put this up?" he asked. Karen's silence was all the answer anyone needed. The deputy shook his head. "You're done here. Tampering with county property can carry fines. You're lucky we're just issuing a citation this time." Karen turned pale, sputtered excuses, but it was too late. The crowd once again saw the truth. Max barked happily as if cheering. The lake was ours to enjoy, and Karen had finally learned that her power ended where common sense began.